I'm here in historic Charleston, South Carolina at the famous Riviera Theater. And I'm here with Lee Pringle, the founder and artistic director of the Color of Music Festival, which is celebrating its 10th year this year. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, Meghann.
And I am here with one of our featured performers for this week's festival, Romuald Grimbert-Barré. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
I'm happy to be able to talk to both of you.
We're excited you're here.
I got a lot of questions.
Okay.
In just a few hours, right here on this stage, there's going to be a performance. What is the name of tonight's performance?
Well, it's a performance that is featuring the Elder Mozart. And the reason we coined it as the Elder Mozart is because Chevalier was 11 years older than him. And although Mozart, being the prodigy kid that he was, had over 600 compositions that he nailed down before his short-lived life, Chevalier was having a very robust career as well. Coined 6 operas, just a plethora of symphonies, and tonight, our friend Romuald will be performing one of his violin concertos that is a personal favorite of mine, and there will be 2 other compositions that will be from the catalog of Chevalier de Saint-Georges, so we're excited about that.
So let's back up a little bit. Tell me about who the Chevalier is. His name is Joseph Bologne, right? Who became known as the Chevalier de Saint-Georges. Tell us about this legendary man.
Well, he was truly a Renaissance man for the period that he was born to an enslaved African slave on a sugarcane plantation, but was educated in what we call in the United States a classical education that included a lot of private lessons and very athletic. And also, as Roman can share with you, he was, very gifted in playing the violin. And a lot of his compositions were actually composed in a manner that he could play, and some folks could not do it. So his talent, is one that I am so glad that people are learning more about him. There will be a feature film that's released in 2023 at some point that will give him the recognition that he so deserves. So I tell folks, he was someone that went from being born on a sugarcane plantation to performing with and providing lessons for Marie Antoinette, in addition to just being around the court of all the aristocrats of his day. So just a badass.
Yes, I love that word. I think that encompasses exactly who he was.
Yes, yes.
So tell me, what is the significance of playing his music this year at the festival?
So it's important this year for us to circle back to his legacy, because when I envisioned the festival in 2012 and later debut in fall of 2023, I learned of him while I spent 4.5 years telecommuting from Toronto, Canada. And in Canada, there's a famous Baroque orchestra there, and they just have embraced him. The Canadian Broadcasting Company had done a video on him back during that time. And a friend of mine from Trinidad invited me to a concert, and I had never heard of him, couldn't even pronounce his name when I looked at the program. And he said, "You do know he was a mulatto that was born in Guadeloupe, and the entire program is his music." And I was just so blown away. As fate would have it, when I came back, permanently staying here in the US, I decided I was going to start the Color of Music. And so he was literally our poster person on our billboards when we launched. And I just want people to know that he was among some of the greatest at the time of that Baroque era. And that's why we're circling back to him, commemorating that launch.
Yes, just a full circle moment.
Full circle moment, yes.
And Romuald, you and your family are originally from the exact same place as the Chevalier.
Exactly. My mother is from Guadeloupe, and I've been lucky to play Saint-Georges music since I was a teenager, and also with my brothers. I went back to Guadeloupe for the first time playing Saint-Georges music when I was a teenager because I hadn't been there since I was a baby, basically. And so he's been part of my life since then, playing a lot of his concertos, also quartets. And his music is wonderful. And you can tell he was a virtuoso, really, because it's really a challenge to play. It has so much energy. And his quartets also a lot of fun to perform.
So what does it mean to you to be able to be here in the U.S. playing this music?
It feels very special, and also because it's for Call of Music, and it feels it's almost a mission to me to play his music, to try to make it something more usual for the audience to listen to. Because it's also something that should be taught at schools and, for music students. So I believe it's part of what I'm here for, to help Chevalier de Saint-Georges be more famous. And also, I'm really grateful that Lee gives me the opportunity to play his music here at Call of Music.
So you grew up all your life knowing about the Chevalier and being familiar with his music and his legacy, right? Is that right?
Actually, even for my master's, I wrote a paper on him and his concertos, so that's why I've been also in touch with some biographers and so it's been something very natural also in Guadeloupe to talk about him, because he's actually not that famous outside of people who are used to classical music. Even in Guadeloupe, I was surprised. I toured over there a couple of months ago, and it's still also important, and there's a lot being done to really have people listen to his music and know more about his legacy.
Okay. So, and this is a question for both of you. Can you tell me, how was the music for the concert tonight chosen? How did you all decide on a program?
That's a very good question. So we were in New York City during the Juneteenth federal holiday of 2022.
Okay.
And Romuald reminded me that I had committed to doing a St. Georges concerto because we didn't have it initially on the program. So Romuald, some of his colleagues, and I kind of charted through what we thought the theme should be. And one of the things as artistic director that I get deeply involved in is framing the programming that the audience will see. And so between Romuald and two other colleagues on my staff who make up our artistic little committee, we decided that the first half should be all St. Georges. And that's how it got framed. So the last part of the program will be one of Mozart's pieces. So going back to the thesis statement of, the elder Mozart as opposed to, the other way around, because people always say he is the,
That's right.
The black noir,
That's right.
Yeah,
yes, the Chevalier has very often over the years been referred to as the Black Mozart.
Yes.
And, a lot of people, including myself, have always found that pretty offensive because the Chevalier was 11 years old when Mozart was born.
Yeah.
So how could he be
Exactly.
the other version of of Mozart? He also lived longer. He lived a longer life as well.
Yeah.
So that was another question I wanted to ask about the choice to include Mozart on the program as well. Was it a conscious choice to kind of juxtapose
The two?
the two?
Well, really, that part of it was our lead violinist for the all-female chamber orchestra, they call it Music Virtuosi Female Ensemble, Onyango Yabar Davenport, who is a wonderful programmer, by the way. That was her idea that, we should put that side by side so that people can hear Chevalier first and then listen to Mozart and get a chance to see that it is on par, if not greater than, what they hear in the Mozart part.
I love that. I love that so much.
I do too.
So Romuald, did you make any specific suggestions about we should do this one or we should do this one?
I always do because depending on the concerto, it requires a lot of work and adjustment. So I always love to learn new works. And I had already performed several Saint-Georges concertos. The one I'm performing tonight is kind of new for me. Okay. So it's a real challenge, but it's one of my favorites, to be honest. So I hope I'll get to play more and more often.
I'm glad to hear that, because he's chosen some wonderful concertos, and actually in February 2022, he also presented one of them. And this has always been one of my favorites, particularly the last movement. But throughout it, it just ebbs and flow. And when I heard a little bit of the rehearsal this morning, I told him at break, I was like, God, it sounds better than the recording that we have. Yeah, it's really, really, really well done.
I can't wait to hear it.
Me either. I'm excited.
Yeah. Now, Romuald, this is not your first experience with the Color of Music Festival. Tell me about the beginning of your relationship with Color of Music.
Well, first time I came to perform in Charleston, Chile, it was in 2016, playing the Bruch Violin Concerto. And it was very special in many ways because, well, I studied in the US a long time ago for several years, and it was my first time after at least 6-7 years coming back.
Oh, okay.
And so performing at this special festival, and with friend Marlon Daniel conducting, and so it was truly at the same time going back to what I experienced a long time ago, the U.S. and there's a special feeling in this festival that I enjoyed so much because it feels like a family, and at the same time people are so dedicated and they want to do their best and present something really great. And so it's really a pleasure every time. And I was lucky that Lee also invited my brothers to come and perform. So that's why it became even more of a family thing because we played a triple concerto by another brother, because I have like 5 siblings and 3 of them are composers. And so even last night we had a cello quartet performed by Maxence, the violist, and the triple concerto is by Jonathan, the cellist. And so, yeah, it was like a family reunion.
So lovely. Yeah.
Okay. So, Lee, just tell me, what is next on the horizon for Color of Music Festival? If there's anything you can share with us, any secrets you can drop off.
Well, I have a couple of secrets. I have a secret that we will be returning to California. The San Francisco Conservatory, they're solidifying the date. So go on our social media platforms to get those dates. We're also preparing to debut in Phoenix, Arizona. And another jewel of a place that we're working on is Martha's Vineyard. So there's 3 new cities that we're going to debut in, coming in between 23, 2024. And we're going to be returning to New York City. And we have a partnership with the CUNY Graduate Center. And they have several beautiful venues, one in particular that's brand new at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. So we're looking forward to going there. And of course, Charleston is a part of who we are. It's in our DNA, and we hope to continue presenting here in this beautiful, beautiful city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Romuald, what's next for you? What's on the horizon for you in the next several months?
Well, I'm flying back to Paris in a couple of days, so I'll be coming back for Color of Music whenever Lee needs me. It's my priority. But I also have many concerts happening across Europe and playing some concertos with Mendelssohn concerto many times the next few weeks, and also playing with different ensembles. So it's pretty busy.
Yeah. Are you still playing with your family trio?
Not as much as we used to. It's something we did a lot during our childhood.
Okay.
And now it's more for special events because we're all very busy with a lot of other opportunities. So
Kids and
and some of them have
marriage.
kids, and one of them has also, a
Recently
company he created for soundtrack movies. I mean, a lot going on.
A lot going on. So there's going to be a lot that we are going to see from you in the next year or so. And your whole family, clearly. Movies and more compositions and more of you here in the U.S. at the Color of Music.
I'd love to, at least.
Yeah. And I can't wait till we get some more of these Color Music recordings so I can share it with my listeners. I've been having such a wonderful time here this week with hearing all of the wonderful music, and I can't wait to share it with our listeners on the air.
Oh, thank you, Meghann, and thank you for what you do in performance today, Fred Child, for all the support that you all have given the Color Music Festival over the years.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much for taking time to talk with me today.
Thank you, Meghann.
Thank you so much.